Hello there, YouTube. It is I, Uncle John, back in the flesh yet again, and today I will be talking to you all with a little rant. And if you don't want to watch it but listen to it, go right for it. Do whatever makes you feel comfortable at best. Um, Today's topic will be on the time that wrestling had died for me. Before I get into that, allow me to say that back in the good old days, when I was a prepubescent child at best, I used to be an avid wrestling fan. But you know, the older you get, the more you can lose a little interest into it. But for me, I was a pretty avid wrestling fan up until I was about 21, 22 years of age. The reason why I state this is because for myself, wrestling wasn't just about nitpicking on who has the best promos, who has the best mic skills, or whatnot. Back then, that wasn't really the predominant side of wrestling. It was more of I really can't stand that guy or this guy, or this guy right here. He's a huge heel and he's putting us all down. I mean, wrestling back then was pretty much you hated the heels and you loved the faces. It was just the way it was. But nowadays, people just kill it for me because they'd rather cheer on someone that they now see can do work as promos and wrestling matches and whatnot. Now, not to say that everyone doesn't do their fair share in the ring, which everyone does. For some strange reason, a lot of rigid wrestling fans nowadays, and I use rigid in a really bad term, and I'll tell you why here in a minute. Most rigid wrestling fans, they'd rather nitpick on, instead of heels and faces, they'd rather look at someone who has, mic skills or in-ring talent, or, this or that. And sometimes it's the way that their characters are, the way they dress, theme songs, the whole 9 yards. I mean, I could go on, but I would actually bore myself if I did that. But anyway, the reason why I use rigid in such a loose term is that most fans nowadays, I don't believe them as being the avid wrestling fan as what most were back in the Ruthless Aggression era and the Golden era. Most of them were pretty much, how to put it, most of them that were into the Golden era and the Ruthless Aggression era, they were the kind of fans that really made me want to watch wrestling each and every weekend, or each and every weekday, should I say. But nowadays it's just the fans rooting for me whenever wrestling comes on and they're in a certain city, like for instance Chicago. They're really bad at a lot of things. I don't mind the cheering for the faces, or booing for the heels, but with them, people say that we have the freedom of speech to do and say whatever as we please, which to an extent I agree with. But when you're watching a wrestling show, enjoy the work. Enjoy what the guys are doing in the ring. Don't be chanting off something that is completely irrelevant to what is going on in the ring. I don't care if you think it's a boring match. You either go for one of the two guys that is in the ring. It's just fans completely ruin it for me, and that's the thing that really killed wrestling for me, was the current age of how fans are nowadays. I just don't care for it. It's as if they don't care themselves. Like, they're looking for that one guy to where they're like, oh my gosh, this guy is a god at this and a god at that. To me, I'm not going to badmouth that type of fan at all, but I will say half the stuff that they do say to me is just, it's utter disrespectful. It really is. I used to be really into wrestling. I mean, I still watch WWE, but I just won't care about how the fans react. I won't care if they go, we want Bray Wyatt, or they're wanting a heel to knock off a babyface that WWE's wanting to be the leader of the flagship. I just don't care for that anymore. Just wrestling from that point has completely died on me in so many ways. Like, people nowadays, they would tell me or ask me, are you a wrestling fan? And I would say, well, I used to be. Now I watch it whenever something good happens. And yes, I'll admit, I do have a fair weakness when it comes to liking a certain heel, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to say, well, that heel's better than that face at any day. No, I won't. I mean, even if Roman Reigns were to turn heel, yeah, Roman's still my favorite. I wouldn't care if he turned heel, he would still be my favorite. Would I like what he had done to, like, babyface when he's a heel? No, I wouldn't. But that wouldn't tarnish the way that I feel about him. I would still like Roman, but I would not care for his actions the way that he would treat a babyface. But it's just one of the other things that really kills me about fans nowadays is how fans are really desperate into seeing Cena turn heel. And yeah, there was a little inside joke where he's like, hey, look, I just turned heel, and he takes the bottom of his heel foot and he turns it, turning heel. And I thought that was quite comical. A lot of fans still hated that. They're like, oh, you're really pushing our buttons here. We want you to turn heel. You're long overdue for that. I don't think Cena is long overdue for a heel turn. He had his opportunity. He had the chance to turn heel at WrestleMania 22. He had a chance at 23, and he had a chance at 24. By that time, his face run probably would have happened from WrestleMania 25 until now, and I think he's going to retire as a face. Many people are not going to like that, but it really doesn't matter at this point. But that's just me. Wrestling had died for me when people treat wrestling the way that they do nowadays. The part where I had said that someone had asked me if I was a wrestling fan, I actually want to get back onto that point here real quick. When I do say yes, Normally, they would ask me, well, besides WWE, are you into independent scenes? No. Well, you're not much of a wrestling fan because, real wrestling fans are into independent scenes. They're not all into WWE. Well, that's your point perspective on that one. But for myself, I consider myself not a WWE fan. I am a WWE fan, but I consider myself as a wrestling fan in general. When it comes to WWE products, I like what they do. As just me, I like what they do. But fans in general, they pretty much kill it for me whenever they ruin a product because it's not the way that they had envisioned it. It's not the way that they had seen it. To me, none of that really matters. As long as it's a good show and they pull it off the way that they foresaw it to happen, then, or foreseen it to happen, however you want to put it, or seen it to happen in general. For those grammar people out there, and from time to time I'll mess up on my own grammar, but that's okay. But anyway, I just thought I'd go ahead and get that all off my chest and let you all know that, thanks to some fans out there, they had not completely killed wrestling for me, but they had killed it to an extent to where it's not the company that I dislike, it's the fans that I dislike. So that's just me. You all may have your own opinions. Completely fine with that. And I may not agree with what you say, but I can respect that. But I sure do hope that you will do the same on my end as well. That's all the time that I have for now. Until then, I will see you all later on in the next upcoming video. Until then, take care, YouTube.